Welcome back to another edition of Blewett Blitz, where we highlight or spotlight one player or position group from the last week's game, going throughout the whole regular season. And we get into the off-season reviews. Always fun. Today, we are going to be recapping in 7 plays. Arian Smith, only 2 receptions, 39 yards on the stat sheet, but obviously there's a lot more to it than just that. Stick around. Here we go with Arian Smith. Quick interruption just to remind you guys to like the video, subscribe, comment, share the video. All of that helps the channel grow, helps the website, helps me, helps you. So I'd greatly appreciate it. Make sure to go check out all the great content at Jets X Factor. Follow me on Twitter at JoeRB31. And back to your regular programming. All right. First play here for Arian Smith out of these 7 plays. Again, only two on the stat sheet, 2 catches on the stat sheet, 39 yards. But there's a lot more to a receiver's game than just targets, than just catches. Even though I think actually most of these are targets, maybe one is not. But we'll get right into it. Top of the screen, not the hottest start in this review for Arian Smith, but I think he ends up definitely more plus than a minus in this game, and I wanted to highlight him specifically. So we have the first target of the game here, where he drops the ball. Not the best route, doesn't look the ball in. We'll watch it in full speed, and then I'll talk a little bit about the route, not defeating the hands there, and at the top of at the top right there, when he goes to bring in the ball, he doesn't look it in. But we'll talk about it a little bit. So gather steps off the snap. You don't want to see so much movement at the snap. You don't want to see a lot of wasted movement with both the right foot and the left foot kind of coming off their spot and having to replant to drive forward. Don't necessarily want that. It's a lot of wasted movement. Right. We had a 2-step release to the outside, just called a 2-step. There's really no name for it. Again, we'll go over plenty of releases in these type of reviews, skips and stretch releases and a bunch of other things, shuffle releases, but foot fires. This one's just a 2-step. Problem with it is doesn't really affect the cornerback too much. He's able to sit on it. Hands are out for the corner, 2-handed punch. Arian Smith's not able to wipe them away. He's not ready for them, so you got to be more ready for the hands. A little bit of hand fighting, wipe the hand off of him, gets to the top of his route. Now he does use a nice throw by here. You see his right arm come out, get onto the DB's back right there, and then he cuts inside on the quick inbreaker. So he creates some separation because of his speed and his athleticism there. But the problem is when he goes to catch the ball, it isn't a little bit of a it's a little bit of a gray zone in terms of like when a ball is thrown kind of to your belly button to chest area. It's hard sometimes for receivers to either know, okay, if it's that low, it's hard to get your hands this low and catch the ball. But you also don't want to have to go underhand and catch the ball with your body. So it isn't a little bit of a tough spot. So I will give him at least a little bit of leeway there with, okay, it's an underhand catch. It's more of a body catch. You don't want to do it. You want to trap it as quickly as you possibly can. It is in that awkward spot. Goes to catch it, doesn't look the ball in, and we'll see that from the other angle. You don't want that ball crossing crossing your eye level. It does for Arian Smith, and he ends up dropping the ball. Right, trying to make a play. Again, in that little bit of an awkward range, we're going to catch that ball. Tries to catch it with his body, doesn't look it fully in. We can see his eye level is not where the ball is. Doesn't look it in, ends up dropping the ball. Okay. So again, not the best release. Gather steps, 2-step release, not ready for the hands, throw by at the top right there, goes to bring it in on a short in, and ends up dropping that ball. Okay. Second play of the review right here. We have Arian Smith on the bottom right here in a tight formation with the receiver right here to his outside. Okay. There's like an inverted tight split. He's running a deep over. Post that he kind of bends. Actually, we had a Yankee concept for the Jets. We're gonna have post and deep over right here. And Martinez is actually a little bit more, kind of ballsy with this throw in terms of seeing this middle post safety carry Arian Smith, but he figures Arian Smith's faster and he can just kind of throw it up to him and maybe he'll get by this DB. And this is one of those plays where I believe fans on Twitter were saying, oh well, he's not going to be able to bring in contested passes and all that stuff. And this was a ball that was like 50-50. He could have got it. I disagree a little bit. It's not an easy catch for Arian Smith and why. So he does a good job at initially, obviously it's zone coverage. So there's really not much route stemming or anything he needs to do. we see him carrying the speed to the break right there. So there's really not a lot of nuance that we need to get through in terms of like the technicalities of the route or anything like that. But what happens is, and if you watch closely a couple times, so when he goes up to get this ball, watch the safety bump him, and it happens very subtly, and it might be hard to see a little bit as we kind of slow it down. So I want you to watch one more time full speed. Watch how when they make contact, his left like knee or thigh makes contact and it bumps Arian Smith. It's much easier said than done when you're running full speed down the field trying to track a ball, and now a DB kind of for lack of a better term here, kind of knees you in the upper thigh area. It bumps Arian Smith forward, and the ball goes through his hands. And you'll have people be like, "Oh, terrible, terrible effort right there. The ball went through his hands." When you're getting knocked off your spot, especially when you're going to or you're already in midair or going to jump in midair to track a ball, it's not very easy. Again, would an elite receiver who's really good at contested catches maybe make this play? Yeah, sure. But it's not something that we're expecting Arian Smith to do, right? Like, even if Arian Smith works out, however you quantify him working out, whether that be a number two receiver, a three, a four, a role player, whatever your personal kind of definition for working out for a fourth round pick is, it's not going to be by being a contested guy. It's by being a route runner, by being, speed, yak, those type of things. Contested catching is not his game, but specifically when he gets kneed in the thigh and it bumps him off his spot, yeah, it goes through his hands, but I'm not going to kill him. Again, watch it in full speed and just notice him get bumped here, and then tell me how easy it is to make that play. I think it's easy for guys sitting on their couch to say, "Oh yeah, make that play." But again, if you are expecting an Arian Smith type of player to make this play, then you kind of have the wrong expectations of what he offers the New York Jets. All right, next play, we have Arian Smith on the bottom, running a dig route versus this corner in off coverage. I'll play it through first, then we'll talk about it a little bit. Um, and this is one thing I think Arian Smith just in college was a little bit overlooked in terms of like some of his athleticism and not just the speed, but kind of the quicks out of breaks. People compared him, specifically Jets fans, to like Robbie Anderson, Stephen Hill types in terms of, oh, he's a speed guy. But both of those guys were long striders who could not change direction quickly. Arian Smith is very explosive in terms of quick movement, obviously long speed acceleration. He's not Tyreek Hill, but he's a tick below. That 4.36, 4.37 speed is very legit. And I think he plays more like a low 4.3 guy, if not high 4.2 guy. He's legitimately that fast. So a little bit of technicalities and technique here with this route running on this dig route from Arian Smith. It's a speed cut. Typically, like if you're gonna call it a real dig, it has like a square cut where you're gonna break down for a few steps, but we'll call it a dig here. What he does here is, and it's really the stem and then the top of the stem that gets him open. So he's a DB with inside leverage right here. So he stems towards the DB just to get on the DB's toes. If the DB is holding inside leverage and Arian Smith goes out, with an outside release, that's where this corner wants him to go. So he's going to feel kind of comfy, for lack of a better term, on this rep. So Arian Smith wants to kind of threaten his leverage in terms of him wanting to be inside. So he's gonna leverage himself inside to give himself a two-way go here. If he tries to just stem this outside and hope the DB overreacts and then cut inside on the in break, the DB is going to be there and he has to cross his face, right? So he does a good job initially stemming towards the DB, right? We see him starting, well below the numbers to stemming a little bit closer to the bottom of the numbers here. He gets on the DB's toes, and as the DB starts to open up, Arian Smith throws what's called a rocker step. Break off the left, hard fake right with the head nod, break inside. And this movement, just a slight rocker step with the plant in the left foot, this makes the DB think, and you can see him start to open up when he does that. He's making the DB think, oh crap, he's going deep to the outside here. He stemmed me inside to give himself room outside. So it's a really good job with the stem to the inside to again threaten that two-way go, get on his toes a little bit. Hard stab off the inside foot, which typically is going to mean an outside break. Rocker 1-2, hard break off the outside. Break, drive, line, gets inside on the dig, catch, get a few yards of yak. Nice route by Arian Smith there on the dig route again, knowing how to attack leverage and also knowing how to throw a perfectly executed rocker step. Next play of Arian Smith, again, at the top of the screen on this one. This is one of those plays where it kind of shows off the fact that you just like Arian Smith doesn't have to be a Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper level route runner to be a good receiver, because he's so fast that if he just runs decent routes, He's going to have room, shallow and intermediate if he's threatening vertical, like a vertical stem, because guys are going to have to open up a little bit early to match his speed. So he gets an extra kind of yard or two of cushion than typical receivers get. So top right here versus DB in off coverage. He does a good job selling the drive phase right here. You could see that as soon as he comes off the ball, he's coming off with a lot of speed, which is obviously selling the receiver that he's going vertical. The old saying of everything's vertical until it's not is a really good kind of way to describe route running. Sell everything like it's vertical, come off the drive phase really hard right here. And then again, in terms of like the break or anything, there's really not much in terms of like nuance other than coming off the ball quickly, gets on the DB's toes a little bit, speed cut to the inside. We have break, next foot, the right footer here is called drive, line, right? Three-step break, drive, line, get inside on a speed cut, and he's open, right? Like it's simple, but DBs have to stay open and have to respect the dude's speed because of how fast he is. This is one of those plays where this is Stephen Hill or Robbie Anderson, they can't make that in break quick enough because they're like, running like, kind of like baby giraffes. They don't really have the best athleticism in the world in terms of like that quick area type of movement. Arian Smith to the top of the screen here does, especially when he's going to sell that drive phase to you. There are a lot of guys, and we'll talk about, I'm sure as these reviews go on, if you're not watching the longer ones, even in the shorter ones, we'll get into some of the more, technical aspects of route running. But in terms of like route speed, route pacing, people see that in scattering reports and stuff, and we'll go through it in terms of like, could be coming off the ball at 80, getting to a certain point, selling 95% speed, and then breaking. There's different ways to play with your route speed to tell corners maybe a different story than what your route's actually going to be. So a good route by Arian Smith, just in terms of breaking inside on that speed cut, and the DB knowing that he has to open up and give Arian Smith a little bit more room underneath because of just that pure speed that he does possess. 3 plays left of Arian Smith. We got him to the top of the screen again on this one in a tighter split versus DB in off coverage. Let's watch the play first, run it through, and then we will discuss. All right, deep out win for Arian Smith. Obviously, the ball is a little bit off target from Adrian Martinez as he faces some pressure and kind of throws that ball fading away instead of really truly stepping into the throw. Arian Smith does a good job. So the first thing we'll notice is DB outside leverage initially stems vertical and at the DB, right? For maybe 4 or 5 steps, however many steps he takes. Actually, quite a bit more than that. But then he breaks it inside vertical, and we'll talk about that quickly. So here we go. Coming off the ball, playing a little bit more slow motion. One, he's selling the drive phase well, right? When your shoulders are down like this, you're showing vertical. There's receivers who are not very good who come, even if they're running an out route, whatever it may be, out in slant, whatever, they're not selling the drive phase. Their shoulders aren't down. They come up and their shoulders are up. And when your shoulders are up, your body's up. That indicates break to DBs. So you have to do, even if it is a shorter route, which this isn't a short route, it's a deep out. But even on shorter routes, you have to sell a couple of steps of drive phase to keep the DB on their toes and get on their toes. So he stems towards the DB off the jump with a good drive phase. We can see he takes a hard stem at him. This, what step is this? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. His 5th step, he takes it a little bit more vertical. You see that? So it's outside. Now it's more vertical. Watch how that affects the DB. Now the DB is thinking, okay, he's breaking vertical. You can see him start to match and get over top of that route. So now his momentum is going vertical and inside instead of more outside and vertical. So good job, really good job with the stem there. It's very slight, but just that step to bring it a little bit more vertical clearly affected the DB and made him get more over the top of Arian Smith. Then we have the actual route break. Again, we'll talk about more of the nuances of route running. He could slam his chest a little bit more over that knee. It's not a bad stop step, but it's not perfect. It's kind of in the middle. It's an okay stop step. Again, we almost want to knee ourselves in the face with that stop step. So we have stop step, second stop step, break, drive, line. Ideally, when we throw this drive step, if it's in a really good route, obviously it kind of depends if you're a stop step or if it's a speed cut. Again, a lot more nuance. We want to flip our hip and get immediately over this foot and flatten it out immediately if it's a very good break. Now he's a little bit more rounded. He takes it another 2 yards vertically. which then allows the DB to recover and potentially undercut it. So ideally, with better stop steps, he slows down his momentum and he's able to get over that drive step tighter. But because he has a lot of momentum into that and he's not overly committed to the two stop steps, again, one, he's over it, but not as low as he could be. Second one, he starts to lean out of it a little bit. Again, very little nuanced, nitpicky stuff, but this is what you need to pay attention with route running. You want to commit to fully both of those steps. You don't want to start your break off your left foot when we're not even fully stopped yet, or not fully stopped, but we didn't slow our momentum down more. So want to see more commitment to the stop steps. Again, break, drive, line, more nuance here. Right hand goes onto the back of the DB to push himself off while also throwing the DB's momentum inside. Gets outside, tracks the ball a little bit too high, but a very good route. It's a very good route. Again, good drive phase coming off the ball, good stem, take it vertical, sell the DB, break, and again, even without perfect technique and in terms of the stops up at the top, look how quickly he gets out of that break for how fast he's running. Like he's a very quick individual, and he's going to offer a lot to this Jets team. All right, and just before we get to the end of the video, just a quick reminder to like the video, subscribe to the website, follow me on Twitter, JoeRB31, where I'll interact and put some plays up there. And make sure to comment who you want to see next time. Again, a lot of comments for a specific individual. I will try to keep that in mind, and if they have a either really good game, really bad game, we will highlight them. But make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out greatly. All right, second to last play of this review. We have Arian Smith again to the top right here, this time on a vertical ball. Um, Another situation where it should have been a PI. The one over the middle on that deep post over should have been a PI. And then this one as well. And I think the Giants broadcasters who are, and every team broadcaster are going to be heavily, biased towards the team that they are announcing for. But even they said, I believe, that this should have been a PI, and it is. Again, kind of similar to earlier, if you're expecting Arian Smith to make these type of plays consistently, then you just don't necessarily know the player. This isn't who he is. He's, 5'11", 6 foot, 180 pounds. He's not going to be a big contested guy, but he does get open. He actually beats the DB by a yard and a half, a yard there. And then at the top, when he's trying to attack the ball, DB doesn't expect it. His arm wraps around him, both of his arms wrapped around him, and then he kind of deflect the hands. I don't have the broadcast angle here, but it's clearly, and in the broadcast angle, it was clearly a PI, right? Tracking the ball. DB's arm comes over the top, which prohibits, Arian Smith, obviously. Arian Smith kind of deflects the hand away, fight through contact, and then catch the ball. It goes through his hands, but he's clearly interfered with right here. Working back to the ball, he's wrapped up and he's not able to make the catch. Again, does a very good contested catcher make that play? Does DeAndre Hopkins, does Mike Evans, do these type of players make that play? Maybe even Pritchett, do guys like that make it who have more size and more strength? Yes, but not Arian Smith's game, not what you're expecting him to be. And I'm not comparing him to this guy. I know it's just been a comparison that's been going around, Jets Twitter and stuff, but like Deshaun Jackson. Was Deshaun Jackson out there making, contested catches through PIs consistently? No. And will it happen sometimes for Arian Smith? Yeah, he'll do it, but it's not something you should expect him to be doing. We saw the contested catch he had at camping at the Giants, actually, but fighting through contact is going to be a little bit difficult for him. But in terms of the release, I saw it a few times. We have a couple of gather steps here. We do want to eliminate a lot of movement at the snap because it's just wasting time. A little bit of gather steps, two-step release, 1-2, head nod inside. The one thing I do like here that's, tiny little nuance again, is when you're trying to get past the DB's level, when you're trying to outrun the DB, let me pause it. What you don't want is when you're trying to cross them, you don't want their hand to land on the front of your body, basically. You don't want it to land on your shoulder. You definitely don't want it to land on your chest. So what I like that Arian Smith does here, as he gets on the DB's toes a little bit, he reduces that inside shoulder. You see he's ducking the inside shoulder. It's to not allow, again, that hand of the DB to get in front of him. So he ducks the shoulders and it slips onto the back. If it slips onto the back, he's not really doing much in terms of halting your momentum. So good job by Arian Smith there, dipping the inside shoulder. And now it's a race. And Arian Smith is a guy, and Brady Cook has a good idea here. The Jets they do a terrible job of picking up the blitz. We'll get into that in the full review. Go and check that out for all the plays being broken down. But Nonetheless, even leaving, it's true for him. He's leaving, right? He has a yard on the DB. Apologies, trying to talk too fast here. Um, but Adrian Martinez, Cook is hit right here. Ball is underthrown. He has to work back to it. Again, clearly interfered with. You could see it. You could see it here. Arm over the top, kind of drags Arian Smith backwards. Now he's falling backwards, trying to make the catch instead of being able to attack it because again of the interference. So give him a little bit of breathing room in terms of like, oh, he needs to make that catch again. Something that's a lot easier said than done. All right, a little bit of a bonus play here. This is a really quick one, but it kind of shows the mindset of Arian Smith. One, just being in lockstep with the coaching staff, and also something that I think was, I'm not going to say underrated coming out of Georgia. I don't think anybody talked about it, literally anybody. So he was actually a very physical blocker at Georgia, and I'm not saying he's the Jets' best blocker because I'll be lying to you. But in terms of mindset, in terms of physicality, I think he's up there, if not the most physical blocker that the Jets have, because I saw him in the SEC throwing his body at 240-pound linebackers at 180 pounds. So we're going to see this play right here. He doesn't end up getting the ball here. They run like a kind of like a switch spin concept. And the ball is thrown underneath to I don't even know who it is. I think it's at 36. That might be Pritchett. So the ball's thrown underneath the Pritchett. What I really like about Arian Smith here, and again, this is not a play that's going to be highlighted probably anywhere but here in JetX, and I don't know if it was already by somebody else, but specifically by me. So he breaks inside here on the dig route, looks back to the quarterback, sees that the quarterback is getting rid of the ball underneath, and he's not taking himself out of the play here. He immediately knows where the ball is going just based on where Martinez is going to load up. And instead of just, okay, I didn't get the ball, he turns and blocks. Now, he doesn't stay on this block for a while, and you want to see him stay more attached and drive through his hands with his feet under him, all that stuff. But it's a very slight thing, but I'm sure the coaches noticed that. Again, run your route immediately. He's not open. There's a linebacker sitting on it, but to immediately start to block, again, it's very quick. It's not the sexiest play in the world, but I think it's an important play to bring up in terms of the coaches liking him and him kind of being on the same wavelength in terms of their thinking. What's Aaron Glenn saying or Angshan saying, the Lion saying, if you don't block, you don't get the rock. There we go. So that is it for the Arian Smith review. I hope you guys appreciated it. Make sure to go and check out the full review at X Factor. Memberships on YouTube are only $3 a month if you want to subscribe to the website. For everybody's great running, from Nania to Connor Long to Sabo to Rivka, a bunch of great people there. The website is $5 a month or $6 a month, but $5 if you pay yearly. So make sure to go check us out there. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next week.